Seshadri to please take stage, and he will be presenting a magnificent case of a turnaround management that he himself has been a part of. So, it would give you a lot of relevance into what Dr. Meghnathan just mentioned, how things are done. That is what Dr. Seshadri is going to be presenting and sharing with all of you. PhD takes about 4 to 5 years. He's got 35 years, so doctor automatically happens.
Thank you so much. You've given me just an honorary PhD right on the stage, and I didn't even have to work for it. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay. This is more suitable for my height. I was finding it difficult to bend down and talk into that thing. Okay, a little bit first about ST Auto Pressings. ST Auto Pressings is a very old company. It was started about more than 35 years ago by my father in Hosur. We have two manufacturing plants at Hosur. The range of products that we make is principally sheet metal, pressed parts and welded fabricated assemblies for the auto sector. It's been a long journey with many ups and downs, but it's just basically these are some of the products we make. We'll be going in a little detail in the next slide. This is just a pictorial representation of some of the types of parts that we currently churn out for various customers in the automotive sector. Principally, most of our customers are in the automotive sector. Most of these involve sheet metal pressed parts and some welded fabricated assemblies as well. Our present customer profile on the top shows our present customer list, and below that shows the end customers to which the products eventually land up in. So our present customer base includes large organizations including OEs like Ashok Leyland, companies in the Toyota Group, Brakes India Limited, Royal Enfield we have just added, Nelson Global Products, IFP, Fleet Guard, and so on and so forth. And the end customers of all these products will be the who's who of the automotive space in India as far as the OE segment is concerned. Okay, so what we did as part of the turnaround strategy that we put in place, some of the things we talked about were to do a little bit work on labor costs, which were a serious issue in ST Auto, a complete turnaround on the manufacturing and throughput and so on and so forth. We did some lean implementation. I won't focus so much on the lean implementation, but I'll talk about some of the strategies of how we used some of those techniques to extract money out of the system and then therefore do a turnaround and so on. Okay, I must talk about first, we talked about labor cost. Okay, so our first engagement with Dr. Meghnathan started, I think, in December 2015, if I'm right, Doctor. Okay, so we started the first 4 months or so was spent in basically Dr. Meghnathan appraising himself of the issues at ST Auto, studying the process, us also beginning to understand what the entire processes were. So we've started with April 2016 as a kind of datum point, as it were. And then at that time it was, as you can see, 12.3% was the direct labor cost in ST. And today it has come down to 6.7% as of July 2018. The two lines shown, the blue line is of course the month-to-month numbers, and the smoothed 6-month moving average line is shown in the rust color that's shown out there. So it's been a more or less steady decrease around the way. So you can say that almost we have knocked off 45% of the total labor cost. So the labor cost has come down from 12.3% to 6.7% on a sustainable basis on total sales. I think this is a very, very good, huge number that we were able to bring down. What did we do right to get to that labor cost reduction? These are some of the things that we did. Lean line in a chamber bracket assembly, some line formation for some mechanical operations which reduced the material travel and increased throughput time. We made some lean line for all welding parts. We did some layout changes. In fact, the layout changes are still in the process of getting made. We've done one iteration and there's a huge revamp which is still in process and is going to get operationalized in the next 2 or 3 months. Operator efficiency was drastically increased through a man-machine efficiency monitoring, product-wise, machine-wise, and all the rest of it. And increased efficiency in the painting operation. Then we identified some high labor cost items and offloaded those items. In some cases, there's nothing wrong in saying, for instance, that some items we just don't do as efficiently as a subcontractor would do. In such cases, if that's not the core of the business, it doesn't make sense to sort of keep on doing it in-house and keep on burning money. It's much better to just get it offloaded, what we did. Okay, so you can also see that this period has also sort of coincided with slowly we've been also doing strategies to ramp up the sales figure. We've got big projections for growth coming up in the next few years as well. And yes. Correct. And all these growths that have happened in the previous years have all come without, as Dr. Meghnadhan put it, without investment in fixed assets, which means that this much availability of capacity was available, which we have been able to free up and just squeeze the existing machinery and assets itself to deliver higher sales and higher turnover, which is a very, very important factor to look at. We've made now growth plans. Now that the turnaround situation has happened, we are now pushing more to a strategy for the future. And so what we are talking about is this light blue will be showing the existing sales pattern with the existing customers. And the yellow band which shows that what we are planning to do in terms of adding new business, new customers, and all the rest of it. So basically, that contribution will be shown in that pie diagram, which you will see down here, which one shows the current business and current product. The red color is the current business with a volume increase or adding in, and the totally new business and new products is in the green color here in the pie diagram. I'll go in some detail into some of the things that we did in terms of one particular line. I identified so many types of activities here. But one particular line that we did for a customer called Fleetguard Filters, we did something which is called, we first formed the team. We studied a line through standard work combination table called SWCT. We identified value-added, non-value-added activities, did a tact balance, layout study, material flow analysis, identified the value-added, non-value-added activities, analyzed, finalized, and then decided what we could do on it. This was a little bit of the nuts and bolts of it. As you can see, the initial layout of the processes, the first step in any investigation of how you can do things more efficiently in any process to squeeze out more output out of it or reduce costs, is to first map the material flow. When we map the material flow, you can see that the material flow starts to start looking like a mess. It's going up and it's going down. You can see the material is flowing up vertically all the way up to the top and then going back down all the way. Every movement of material adds more cost to the system. Remember one thing, the customer is not paying us to move material. He's paying you for product, right? So anything you do to the product other than actually changing its form in a way that the customer wants is non-value added. And material movement is one of the key factors here. We did a basic, kind of tack balance, and then we sort of modified in the layout totally. And what we did is we reconfigured the whole shop from start to beginning, starting with a clean piece of paper, and said, let's not look at anything in this. Let's start with, suppose we want to re-engineer this process from the start. Okay, and then what we did is to develop a process that involved more or less a clean flow, which starts from one end, ends at the other end, and is just like a U-shaped configuration all the way around, without any cross flow of material. In the process, we also decided to find that we were using more than 3 times the space that we were needed to use. By compressing this down, we were able to save on space. We were able to save on manpower running the space, because we were able to find that one single person could work on multiple items of machines and equipment, which again meant a very, very big saving for us in terms of manpower as well. Then we talked about, Dr. Meghnadhan has taught us many parameters to analyze how efficient a line is in terms of, for example, what is called reverse flow. The first layout, I said, reverse flow is when material is supposed to flow in one way and then suddenly it has to go back. So that's called a reverse flow. So cross flow is when it's instead of going directly on a single road, you'll have to take a deviation, come back. That's called a cross flow. So there are many types of parameters that we use to analyze. And then after we did this thing, we did a modified balance chart. And we did some simple improvements and techniques, just basic low-cost solutions that pushed output up dramatically. Just showing one operation where earlier a particular pre-operation was done by hand. A simple device was just fabricated and used with very minimal investment. Then we had a mandrel which was being used to form this pipe. It was a solid mandrel, so the solid mandrel was so heavy it needed 2 people to hold it. We just made the mandrel hollow with one person holding it. We eliminated one person directly from the line. This sounds very simple, but it needs a thought process to actually get to it. And then you start discovering all costs are hidden in the system that need to come out. And tack welding, again we found that actually earlier the way the fixture was being designed, you needed 2 people to do it. Now we cut it down to 1, where we modified the fixtures accordingly. Leak testing was a process in the pipe. Earlier we had 2 people to do it. Now we changed the type of fixture and we cut 2 to 1. So these kinds of huge jumps that are possible in this process. For example, these are the kinds of numbers that we're talking about here. Like the manpower to run that entire line was 6 for a particular standardized output. What 6 people could do earlier, 2 people are doing today. So in terms of in terms of productivity of the overall line in man hours, again there's an improvement. The areas in square meters used was shrunk. The material travel distance was shrunk. And then this shows the kind of thing. The entire line that we talked about has been configured in a very, very short restricted space. And the space freed up has been utilized for other items in production and productivity as well. So we are planning to extend this overall through the entire shop floor. The various modules are being worked on in the similar way and the similar fashion. What I showed was just one example of the way that the costs have been removed from one particular line or one particular cell. Obviously, it's easier to do in a situation where you have a sequenced operation or like a flow or a line. Similar quantum of reductions were not possible in conventional pressing and conventional operations, because we have a multiplicity of products and some amount of cross flow will happen. But even there, we were able to work with Dr. Meghnadhan to come up with an optimized sequence and an optimized resiting of machinery. We are, by the way, in the process of changing layout of presses, where the presses are now aligned to at least 80% of our total product mix. So that 80% of the product mix flows through without much of cross flow or reverse flow of material. We are also planning a massive shift. We have two units. Business is growing. We are found that the unit 2, what we are doing in the way of heavy fabrication would be better accomplished by moving that to unit 1 and freeing up unit 2 for future business that's coming our way. So we are doing that also. That will also give more efficiencies in the processes what we're doing. ST over the years has also picked up, by the way, a lot of awards, and awards have only started increasing after we started doing some of the activities that I've highlighted out here. Thank you. It was a pleasure being with you this morning and making this brief presentation to you today.